It's actually where I made the most returns of having crypto. And I round tripped the first cycle back in 2017.
Yep.
And the biggest lessons I had was around executing my sell plan.
Yep.
And I say this a lot. And in our group, when we sort of helping people with their exit plan, you can write as many price targets down as you want. You can write down, these complicated algorithms of exactly what point you're going to get out. At the end of the day, unless you actually sell, it's your own head that you're competing with.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. And Travis, he's a head of growth. He's a executive coach. He's been working with me for a long time, performance coach. And we've done a lot of work, and we sort of educate. A big part of our education program now is like, what happens to your brain in a bull market with the euphoria and dopamine that hits when your portfolio is going up 10, 20, 50, 100% in weeks, sometimes days, is that it becomes nearly impossible to actually sell. A good analogy is like going to the casino, and when you're winning on the roulette table and you're winning and winning and winning, it's very hard to just take your profits and leave. What a lot of people do.
Can I go to the casino with you? Because that happens to me.
I wouldn't recommend.
No, don't go with me. It's very hard to, right? And that because it's the fear of loss.
Yeah.
The fear of loss far outweighs the feeling of gains. Psychologically, it's actually a loss. $100 loss will feel far more painful than the upside of a $100 win. So the idea of losing is very hard, which means when the bull market's pumping, like trying to take profits feels like a loss because you're feeling out of potential gains. But what actually happens is you don't sell and then you round trip. So yeah, to your point though, like those triggers for me, the way I is purely around sentiment. Like we use a lot of like on-chain data, fundamental data, but at the end of the day, it's sentiment. And I remember at the peak of the metaverse era, it was fucking chaos.
Yep.
It was like, people were screaming for these things to take over the world, and like the market caps. It was, yeah. We're in the tens of billions.
Yeah.
And I remember just like once, like just loading up, like, I don't know, it was Decentraland or, I don't know what it was at the time, and looking into it and going, this is rubbish. Like this is actually dog shit. Like no one is using this. Yep. And it was worth, I can't remember the markups at the time. And I just remember and thinking to myself, this is it. This is peak euphoria and peak, craziness. And I definitely didn't time the top by any stretch. And, we try and ladder out because it's very, very hard, if not next to impossible, to sell the absolute top. Usually some of these coins are in the top 5, 10% for days. Meme coins, it's hours. So it's impossible to sell the top. You look back and go, oh yeah, I knew that, easy in hindsight.
So maybe an observation and a question back to Ben around sort of, selling on the way up. But if we think about alts again, and obviously I was heavily involved in NFTs in that last bull run, and most of my sort of crypto friends that weren't really believers of NFTs or just, were happy to sit on the sidelines, you hear them talk about, and even just then, Ben, like talking about sort of November 21, December 21, when I think Bitcoin and Ethereum sort of topped, but it was actually about 6 more months of mania if you were in NFTs and some alts as well. The most up-only period for NFTs was basically from January to the end of April 2022, topping at the other side mint. Yep. So that was, for those that don't know, that was basically Yuga Labs' metaverse play that is a game that's still sort of in progress, 3 years on. But, a week later, Terra Luna happened after that other side mint. And, you probably remember hearing people paying 2 ETH for a gas fee, me included, just to get these invisible fake parcels of land. Yeah. But there was a mania period after Bitcoin and Ethereum topped in the last cycle. So that's sort of one observation that obviously everyone's sort of worried about, like Bitcoin, when's it going to top or when's Ethereum going to top? But things can stay pretty maniac or pretty crazy for periods, extended periods after that. The question I had for you, Ben, how do you personally think about it, and how do you think about educating members of like, okay, I've just made, some good money on Sui or Hype or whatever, but what are you actually going to rotate into? Are you taking profits, or like, how do you actually think about what is the next step after quote unquote taking profits? Like, what are you rotating into?
Yeah, really good question. So the clients we work with are long-term investors. So, by no stretch we work with traders or like short-term, speculative investors. So for a long-term investor, particularly if you're busy, we try and keep it super simple. So start with, what is the goal? So I'll sit down with someone and go, what are you even crypto for, right? Some of our clients have a bunch of property and they're selling down to diversify. Some of them have large businesses with a heap of cash and they're just wanting to invest. Some of them have 500K in crypto and they have no idea what they're doing. Like, I need some help, or they're round tripped. And I usually start with the end goal. It's like, well, why are you in this asset class? So for me, I'm using Bitcoin to grow my wealth. And, I use Bitcoin to preserve it as well. So I've got my long-term strategy where I want to stack as much Bitcoin as possible. And that's my digital gold strategy. My altcoins is to essentially try and buy more Bitcoin using altcoins to leverage a bull market. Not by actually leveraging, but using altcoins.